The laughter began long before she reached her table. It wasn't the warm, cheerful laughter that usually filled a busy restaurant on a Friday evening. This laughter was different. It was sharp enough to cut through conversations, loud enough to make strangers glance over their shoulders, and cruel enough to make one woman question whether she should turn around and walk back out the door. Olivia Parker paused for just a second near the entrance. She adjusted the strap of her purse, took a slow breath, and forced herself to smile. "You promised yourself," she whispered under her breath. "No hiding this year." Today was her 29th birthday. For years, birthdays had become painful reminders of everything she thought she lacked. Friends slowly stopped inviting her out. Relationships never lasted. Family members loved her, but even they often suggested diets before asking if she was happy. After spending nearly every birthday alone, she had made one simple promise to herself. She would celebrate this one. Even if it meant sitting alone in a restaurant with nothing more than a small meal and a slice of cake. She had wrapped herself a tiny birthday gift the night before, a journal she had bought months earlier but never opened. On the attached tag she had written, "To Olivia. Please don't give up on yourself." She smiled sadly at the words before walking toward the hostess. A table near the window was waiting. As she crossed the dining room, 3 elegantly dressed women sitting near the center of the restaurant looked up from their wine glasses. One whispered something. Another burst into laughter. The third didn't even bother lowering her voice. "She actually wore that dress. It's very optimistic." The others giggled. Olivia kept walking. She had heard comments like that her entire life. At school. At college. At work. Even while shopping for clothes. But hearing them never became easier. As she reached her chair, another remark floated across the room. "I hope the chair survives." A few people chuckled awkwardly. Others immediately looked away, embarrassed by what they had just witnessed but unwilling to interfere. Olivia carefully sat down. She pretended to read the menu, although she had already decided what she wanted before arriving. A grilled chicken salad. Water. And if she could gather enough courage, one small slice of chocolate cake. Not because she was dieting. Not because she felt guilty. Because years of bullying had trained her to apologize for taking up space, even on her birthday. Across the restaurant, Ethan Brooks noticed everything. He had come for dinner after an exhausting 12-hour workday. Across from him sat his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, happily coloring on the children's menu while occasionally sneaking fries from his plate. To anyone watching, they looked like an ordinary father and daughter. But their journey had been anything but ordinary. For years earlier, Ethan had buried his wife, Emma. Cancer had taken her in less than 8 months. One day they were planning family vacations. The next, he was learning how to braid Lily's hair before school while trying not to cry in the bathroom every morning. For months, he barely survived. Running his small construction business during the day. Reading bedtime stories at night. Paying bills after Lily fell asleep. Wondering if he was failing at both jobs. There were nights when he sat on the kitchen floor because he couldn't bring himself to enter the bedroom he once shared with Emma. But every morning, Lily would wake up smiling. "Daddy, pancakes. Daddy, can we play after work? Daddy, Mommy would want you to smile." Children had a remarkable way of keeping broken hearts alive. Instead of giving up, Ethan buried himself in work. He accepted jobs nobody else wanted. He worked weekends. He learned new trades. He treated every employee like family because he knew what struggling felt like. Slowly, his little company grew. 1 truck became 3. 3 became 12. Within a few years, Brooks Construction had become one of the most respected companies in the city. Money eventually stopped being a worry. But losing Emma had permanently changed him. She used to tell him something whenever they saw someone being judged. Kindness costs nothing, but silence can cost someone everything. He never forgot those words. Lily suddenly stopped coloring. She looked toward Olivia. "Daddy. Why is that lady eating by herself? Maybe she's waiting for someone. Lily watched a little longer. I don't think she is. Ethan glanced over. Olivia was quietly arranging the tiny wrapped gift beside her plate, trying to make it look like someone else had given it to her. She checked her phone. No messages. No birthday calls. She locked the screen again before anyone could notice. The waitress approached with a friendly smile. Good evening. Happy birthday. Olivia smiled politely. Thank you. Will anyone else be joining you? There was a long pause. No. The waitress's smile softened. I'm glad you came anyway. Olivia nodded. So am I. At least she wanted to believe that. As the waitress walked away, one of the women at the nearby table leaned toward her friends and laughed again. Imagine celebrating your birthday alone. Another replied loudly enough for half the restaurant to hear. Maybe everyone else is at the gym. The three women burst into laughter. Olivia stared at the table. She blinked rapidly. She refused to cry. Not here. Not today. She took a deep breath and unfolded the small birthday card she had secretly written to herself that morning. You survived another year. Keep believing that one day people will see your heart before they judge your body. A single tear landed on the paper. She quickly wiped it away. Across the room, Lily had seen everything. She gently placed her crayon down. Daddy. Ethan looked up immediately. What's wrong? That lady is pretending she's okay. He followed Lily's gaze. Olivia had forced another smile onto her face just as the waitress returned with a glass of water. But anyone paying close attention could see her trembling hands. Lily's voice became quieter. Those ladies are making her cry. Ethan watched for another few seconds. He noticed the fake smile. The untouched menu. The birthday gift addressed to herself. The way she avoided looking at anyone because she already expected judgment. Then Lily asked a question that stopped him cold. Daddy, why are grown-ups so mean? The words hit him like a punch to the chest. Without warning, another memory rushed back. Years earlier, Emma had gained weight during her pregnancy with Lily. One afternoon, while shopping for baby clothes, two strangers had laughed behind her back. They assumed she couldn't hear. She heard every word. That night she cried quietly in bed while Ethan held her hand. I know I'm carrying our daughter, Emma whispered through tears, but for a few minutes, they made me feel like I wasn't even human. Ethan had kissed her forehead and made a promise. If I ever see someone being treated like that again, I won't stay silent. He had kept many promises in his life. But not that one. Not yet. Tonight, fate had given him another chance. Ethan remained seated for a moment, staring across the restaurant while Emma's words echoed in his mind. Kindness costs nothing, but silence can cost someone everything. He looked at Lily. His daughter was still watching Olivia with worried eyes, her small hands folded tightly on the table. Daddy, she whispered, can we help her? Ethan smiled softly. We can. He stood from his chair. The restaurant slowly grew quieter as people noticed him walking away from his table. Some assumed he was heading toward the manager. Others thought he was about to confront the three women who had been laughing. Instead, he walked straight to Olivia. Excuse me, he said gently. Olivia looked up, startled. I'm sorry. Is this your table? Ethan smiled. No. My daughter wanted to ask you something. Lily stepped beside him, holding a colorful card she had made while waiting for dinner. The front showed balloons, hearts, and a smiling sun. I made this, Lily said shyly. Olivia blinked. For me? Lily nodded. I didn't know it was your birthday until I heard the waitress. With trembling hands, Olivia accepted the card. Inside were words written in large, uneven letters. Happy birthday. You are important. Don't listen to mean people. Love, Lily. Olivia covered her mouth. Tears rolled freely down her cheeks. No expensive present. No grand speech. Just the sincere kindness of a little girl. "I've never received a birthday card from someone I just met," Olivia whispered. Lily smiled. "My mommy used to say birthdays should never be lonely." Ethan felt his chest tighten hearing those words. Emma had said that many times. Olivia looked at Ethan. "You've raised an amazing daughter." He smiled. "I think her mother deserves most of the credit." The restaurant had become completely silent. Many customers quietly watched the touching moment. Some smiled. Others looked ashamed that they had done nothing while Olivia was being mocked. Unfortunately, the silence didn't last. One of the women at the nearby table rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, please." Another laughed. "What is this? Some kind of movie?" The third added loudly. "She's crying over a card? That's embarrassing." Several customers frowned. The comments were cruel enough before. Now they felt unbearable. Ethan slowly turned toward them. His face remained calm. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't insult them. He simply asked, "Are you proud of yourselves?" The women exchanged amused glances. "We're just having fun." "Fun?" Ethan repeated. "Is humiliating someone your idea of entertainment?" One woman shrugged. "If she doesn't want attention, maybe she shouldn't." She looked Olivia up and down. "Dress like that." Their words hung heavily in the air. Even the waiters looked uncomfortable. The restaurant manager hurried over. "Sir, is everything all right?" Ethan turned politely. "I'd like to ask you something." "Of course." "Who owns this restaurant?" The manager looked surprised. "Our owner is out of town." "Can I speak with him?" The manager hesitated. "I can call him." "Please." Within minutes, the owner answered on speakerphone. After introducing himself, Ethan asked only a few questions. Then he smiled. "I'd like to make an offer." The manager's eyes widened. The phone conversation lasted nearly 15 minutes. People whispered across the dining room. The three women laughed quietly. His pretending to buy the restaurant. What an ego. Anything for attention. Ethan finished the call. He shook the manager's hand. Then he returned to his table as though nothing unusual had happened. Dinner continued. Customers resumed eating. Olivia tried to focus on her meal, though her emotions still overwhelmed her. Nearly 40 minutes later, the manager tapped a spoon against a glass. "May I have everyone's attention, please?" Every conversation stopped. The manager smiled nervously. "I have an announcement." He looked toward Ethan. "As of 10 minutes ago." He paused. "This restaurant has officially been sold." Gasps spread throughout the room. "The new owner is Mr. Ethan Brooks." The three women froze. Olivia looked completely shocked. Ethan slowly stood. "I didn't buy this restaurant because I wanted another business." He looked around the room. "I bought it because I wanted to protect what restaurants are supposed to be." People listened in complete silence. They are places where families celebrate birthdays. Where couples fall in love. Where children laugh. Where strangers should feel welcome. He glanced toward Olivia. Not places where someone is humiliated simply because they look different. Several customers began clapping. The applause quickly spread throughout the restaurant. Ethan raised his hand gently for silence. "My first decision as owner is simple." He looked toward the three women. "You've made another guest feel small tonight. So I believe you've had enough hospitality." The manager stepped forward. "I'm sorry, ladies. I'm going to have to ask you to leave." One woman jumped to her feet. "You can't be serious." The manager nodded calmly. "I've worked here for 12 years. I've never wanted to say these words more. Please leave." The restaurant erupted into applause again. Red-faced and speechless, the three women grabbed their purses and hurried toward the exit while dozens of people watched in silence. As the door closed behind them, the atmosphere completely changed. Customers smiled at one another. Someone shouted, "Happy birthday, Olivia!" Another joined in. Then another. Within seconds, the entire restaurant was singing. The kitchen staff appeared carrying the biggest chocolate cake they had. The chef refused to let Olivia pay. A nearby florist, who had been dining with her husband, offered a bouquet of fresh flowers. Another customer quietly paid for Olivia's meal. An elderly couple invited her to cut the cake with them because, as their husband said, no birthday should ever be celebrated alone. Olivia couldn't stop crying. But this time, they were tears of joy. She looked at Ethan. "You didn't have to do any of this." He smiled warmly. "Actually, I did." She looked confused. "When my wife was alive, she taught me that kindness isn't measured by what it costs. It's measured by whose life it changes." Lily hugged Olivia tightly. "Now you'll never have to remember this birthday because people were mean. You'll remember it because people were kind." Months later, the restaurant had a new sign near the entrance. "Everyone is welcome here. Respect is always on the menu." The message became famous throughout the city. People visited not just for the food, but for what the restaurant stood for. And every year on her birthday, Olivia returned, not to remember the pain she once felt, but to celebrate the evening that reminded her her worth had never been determined by her size, only by the kindness in her heart.